Hey everyone, welcome to the Creator Show. This is your host, Ruben Drieger, and I'm really excited to bring on a special guest today. As you guys know, if you've been on the show, we love to get down and dirty with how tactical we get. But I'm actually really excited because oftentimes, you guys know whether you're listening or watching this on YouTube, is we often go so heavy strategy that oftentimes we miss out sometimes on talking about the mindset or even the spiritual side of everything. So I'm really, really excited to have Dan on to actually share a lot on that end of the spectrum. So without further ado, Dan, introduce yourself, tell everyone a little bit about you, and then we'll just dive in.
Awesome. Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me on the show, Ruben. It's awesome to connect. And I love bringing balance to that strategy.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm a mindset mentor and coach. I'm a leader maker. For me, I've worked with a lot of other people in my life, and I find that the people who I really enjoy working with most are those who are out there moving the needle for other people. The coaches, the coach entrepreneurs, the people who are there saying, I don't want to just, get wealthy and have things for me. I want to do that so that I can have a huge impact on this world and feel like I'm making this world an even better place.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, I help people just get out of their own ways. See, the strategy and the tactics are wonderful. You do need them, but success is 80% mindset, 20% mechanics, right? It's sort of like if you can have a freaking Bugatti sitting in your driveway, right? The fastest car in the world. But if you don't have the confidence to drive that thing correctly, you will drive it into a wall. Right?
Yes, 100%.
Guaranteed. And I don't care how many books you've read about driving. I don't care if you know all the strategies. If you freak out on the road, you're screwed.
Yeah.
And so what I help people do is make sure that they have the correct energy, psychology, the amount of self-love and self-trust, and the flow and the joy and the brilliance that it takes to unleash your genius, not only onto your business, but onto your whole life. And in that way, rewire your mind so that you can, like Zig Ziglar said, right, help everybody else get what they want. And in the process, get everything you want and more.
I'm excited about this. This is really good because I think our audience is heavily soaked with the strategies and they know a lot, but you're right. The confidence, and because our audience is mainly people who are just starting to build an online business, or maybe they're at six figures, but they're still in kind of the trenches, as it were. This is going to be awesome. So before we dive into like the meat and potatoes of it all, tell me a little bit about your own journey, because I'm curious why you came to be in the place you are today. Were you always like this? Was this something that you thought you were going to do, or was it actually a bit of a surprise? So dive in a little bit on like the origin story and all that.
Sure. Yeah, man. Oh my God. Every time I go through this story, and of course, like you, I'm sure, told it like many, many, many times, but every single time I get into it, it just reminds me of how weird of a journey I've been on and how weird it is getting right now. Not because of the virus or anything, because like I think some people are born to be just weird zebras running around the world, showing people like, hey, did you know that this shit exists? Oh, by the way, can I curse on this?
Oh yeah, totally.
Can I speak freely? Sweet. Awesome. Because like, check this out. So I was born depressed. It usually doesn't happen. Right. Usually when I speak about it, I'll say that people are never born depressed, because in 99.99999999999 people aren't. Right.
Yeah.
I was one of the few who just got fucked. And I was essentially self-hating from like the age of nothing.
Right.
And by the age of 3, I remember, because I was born in Jerusalem, Israel. I was raised in New Jersey. And I just wanted to fit in and be liked and have friends. But, I had an accent and I looked different and acted different. And, my food is filled with garlic and all sorts of stuff. And I just had no friends. I was ostracized. And I remember at age of 3 telling my mom that I could never speak Hebrew again because all I wanted to do was fit in.
Right.
And so from the age of 3, I fundamentally rejected who I was as a person. And that carried with me as I got more stuck in my head and more depressed and bullied and picked on and fucked with throughout college until, I discovered drugs and alcohol, which is a beautiful thing for a super depressed and already suicidal person to find.
For sure.
Right? Like, so it makes something a whole lot worse. And so I got like actually suicidal. And I was, blackout drinking every single week. I was one of those guys, and it took me a long time to wipe this out. I was one of those guys where it's like, who cares? What is that drug? Doesn't matter. Give me all of it. Right? I just didn't want to feel the way that I was feeling.
Yeah.
And when I had my first real serious brush with suicide, when I was like, I'm going to fucking do it. Like, that's it. I've had enough. Like, no, anything is better than this.
Right.
I woke up the next day realizing that no, there was a voice. There's just maybe the first time I ever really heard my intuition, which was telling me like, no, you can figure this out. You need to figure this out. And so I do what I do really well, which is learn extraordinary amounts in very short amounts of time.
Right.
And I went to the best university in the world for cognitive science because I figured my brain was broken. I didn't find anything there. Right. So I studied psychology and I found it outmoded and outdated. And I went to therapy and I found that it was too slow and it was too basic. And I ran circles around my therapists until they gave me refunds. And then I found weirder stuff. That's when I got into neurolinguistic programming and hypnosis and positive psychology before it was a thing.
Right.
And I was, I'm like, oh my God, things can change. Like I feel different. And I started building on that. And, I used to be, when I was in high school, 6'2" and weighed 135 pounds.
Right.
Right. I was nothing. You could see through me. And I had a doctor saying, because I grew a foot in a month, that I would never be able to be athletic. Like my skeleton could not take it.
Oh, wow.
When I started learning this stuff and learning that like, oh my God, like brain rewiring, what is this going on? All of a sudden I got to a point where I was running 5-minute miles and deadlifting 400 pounds.
Yeah.
Whereas I could not get a date to save my life. All of a sudden I could get dates all the time. Where I had no friends, all of a sudden I found my tribe. And then I discovered spirituality. Yeah. Because I went from this hardcore atheist, God doesn't exist, religion is bullshit. This is just a figment of weak-minded individuals to find their solutions in an inherently chaotic universe, right? Even as I'm saying that, I'm like, what a small-minded way to look at things. Like, as I'm saying it to myself, I'm like, shut the fuck up.
Oh, totally. Man. That's how it should be if you're growing fast enough, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I was just like, what the hell, man? But I had this experience because I went through coaching. I healed my depression. I did all these things. And I felt like I could do this, right? Like, look at all these things I created for myself. I've got to do this for other people. And I quit my 9-to-5 job and I became a coach, and then quickly realized that the mentor that I had was not a good mentor at all. And then I had no idea what I was doing in business. And all of a sudden I had no safety net, no income, nothing going on, no idea of what to do, all on my own. And I freaked out.
Right.
And one of my college buddies at this point told me to go and check out, his guru. And I'm like, whoa. Guru? I'm a white boy from New Jersey. What the hell are you talking about? Like, I don't belong there. Like, go check it out. And I was so desperate that I did. And the story is on, like the full story won't, there's a lot in there.
Totally.
If you're curious about it, at the end of the podcast, I can give you my own podcast name, and your listeners can go check it out as well.
Totally.
It's a very long and deeply weird and entirely true story.
Right.
Which I guarantee you won't believe. Like, you just won't. You just won't believe it. You won't believe it, because even as I was living it, I didn't believe it. But let's just say that I had undeniable, extreme, in my face, just no drugs, just waking experiences of energy and kundalini. And I saw people do things that would collapse your brain. Like, people moved things with their minds in that thing. People were reading minds in there. There were people who could look at you and just look at you and tell you everything that was going on in your body more accurately than a doctor would.
Right.
There were people being healed of autoimmune diseases. And so that was my first day, when I first went there, of a year and a half of being in a Hindu spiritual cult
Right.
and living in ashrams in India and meditating in Thailand for months. And I came out of it realizing that so much of my pain and depression growing up was because I was an empath and didn't know it. And that I'm incredibly deeply spiritual and was disconnected. And when you're disconnected from who you are, suicide is the only option,
Hmm.
right?
Wow.
Because you can't live a life that's not yours. You can't, it's so deeply disturbing to your own mind, right? That you want out.
Yeah.
And what happened then was the exact reverse, because when I finally discovered it, all I wanted was back in.
Yeah.
And it was like me, finally seeing reality. And from that moment, when I finally accepted all of who I was and started using all of my gifts, I created a 6-figure business in 6 months, a multiple 6-figure business in a year and a half. And I started attracting celebrities as my clients and
Mhm.
influencers and people who do incredible things with people and, 10-figure earning industry leaders, internationally renowned. And I realized that, you know, life is so much more amazing than
Mm.
what I had made it out to be, which is this
Right.
hustle and work and brute force and just hoping for things to happen, or, trying to feel like you're dealing with impossible or enormous challenges with a limited set of skills or capacities. There are no limits. There are no rules. None of that exists. And my life became this pursuit of just showing that to people
Mhm.
over and over and over again. I'm showing them like, hey, I don't care what you've accomplished. I don't care what you think you can accomplish. You are so much more amazing than you know.
Yeah.
And you're so much more powerful than you know, that when you begin to get even a whiff of it, you will look back at the way that you did things and laugh at yourself.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I want to dive in on that. Can we dive in on that? So
Yeah,
I
totally.
know there's a lot of our listeners who, because they're new to business, and they're starting to push, trying to kind of go to another level in one part of the world, they are hitting limits. Whether it's a belief that they hold, or maybe it's a money mindset thing. And so, talk a little bit about, maybe it's tools, maybe it's, how do you move from feeling limited to feeling limitless, or actually truly believing it? Talk a bit about that, because I know I was held back for so many years, and my limitation was I had a belief that I was going to fail at everything in life. and
Mm.
and it's something that I've had to work through, and all these different things. So maybe talk about that a little bit, because I think lots of people go through that.
Sure, of course they do. And they think that it's a bad part of it. They think that it's like a punishment.
Hmm.
They're like, oh my God, I've got all these problems. I can't get out of my way. I'm like, good. Like, what do you mean good? Like, coming at you with all my problems, and you're saying it's good that I have them. And I say, yes, it is good, because these are beautiful pushes and teachers.
Mm.
When you can learn to accept them as what they are,
Right.
then you realize that, no, this is a wonderful thing to find your limitations,
Yeah.
because then you can grow past them. But if you never really see them, then you actually stay stuck. People think that, oh, if I didn't have these challenges, then I would be able to get to my goal faster. And
Right.
I would say, no, if you didn't have your challenges, you wouldn't even have that goal,
Mm. Totally.
right? You would have nothing. You would have no contrast in your life to realize that there's room for you to grow or more things for you to be. So let's start first with saying, thank God, or the universe, or yourself, or whatever,
For sure.
for these limitations.
Mhm.
And they are your friends,
Yeah.
right? Because good friends push you.
That's good. No, I think that's helpful. I mean, maybe it's not exactly comparable, but I often talk about how, I mean, rejection or failure is, it's really, it's a learning tool. It's something you have to go through.
Sure.
And I think a lot of people see it as, I hit it, I fail, and therefore I shouldn't do it. And maybe that's from something in childhood where they were told, like, rejected, and then they were said you shouldn't keep on pursuing it, right? Or maybe it
Right.
was a loss of tenacity, or whatever it is. Like, how do you go from having that belief? I mean,
Mhm.
someone can just say that's not a good belief, but like, how do you work through it? How do you process through
Yeah.
that?
Sure. So we got to get a little bit into the brain,
Yeah.
right? So what you see, like, I love mixing science and spirituality almost in the same sentence.
Yeah, it
Um,
should be that way. I think. I
it
mean,
is, yeah.
if spiritual, like, I'm not going to go into that, but like, there should be a footing to what
Yes.
a belief is, and what better footing than science? Anyways, keep going.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And that's one of the things that bugs me a lot in the coaching world, is that people will almost like pick one or the other, right?
Right?
So you get these incredibly
Like,
spiritual people, but you're like, what, how do you know this works?
right.
Right? Like, and then you get the people who are like really hardcore, like neuroscience, and you're like, yeah, but how do you know what to do?
Yeah.
And the idea here is when you I direct myself with spiritual philosophies. I
Right.
ground myself in neuroscience. That way
Yeah.
we have the path and we have the understanding. And inside of the brain, you must understand that you have what I call functional brain wiring.
Hmm.
This understanding could be one of the most important things that you can ever understand about your own mind, right? And about your own reality.
Right.
So your brain works like a circuit. And like, think of your coffee maker, right?
Right.
So your coffee maker will make you coffee because its circuits are designed to do that. So it'll either try to make coffee out of whatever you put into it, or it just won't work,
Hmm.
right? It doesn't matter how many times you put lemon in there, you're not going to get lemonade ever,
Yeah.
right? So what you have to do is rewire the machine, then it can make you lemonade. So
Right.
in your functional brain wiring is the total collection of all the neurosynaptic connections you have in your mind that produce your thoughts, your identity, your behavior. And so whatever that's programmed for creates and edits your thoughts and reality,
Hmm.
right? Now you can see this in an fMRI, right? So this is just well accepted neuroscience, right?
Yeah.
So that, let's say there is this feeling of, oh my God, I'm going to lose, I'm going to fail, I'm going to, right? You have this
Yeah.
belief, I'm going to fail at everything. Let's say I have this belief, I'm going to fail at everything.
Right.
Now, your brain then has a circuit that says, I'm going to fail at everything. And just like a coffee maker, whatever you put into your brain is going to try to funnel information through that circuit.
Hmm.
It's going to try to make coffee out of whatever you put into it because it's a coffee maker, right? So even if you succeed, your brain will reject it
Right.
because it conflicts with the circuit. And it's either we make it work or we shut down.
Right.
So you look at it and it's like, oh, I succeeded. Oh, that was easy. Discounted. Oh, someone else helped me. Discounted. I'll never be able to do it again. Something bad is going to happen. That was a mistake. What,
Right.
right? You'll be able to explain it away so you can go right back into thinking and working from that circuit. But also, all of your behavior, because your brain also creates your behaviors and your thoughts. All of your thoughts are going to come from that place too.
Right.
So if you believe that you're going to fail all the time, you cannot actually believe that you're going to succeed. So
Right.
you may want to succeed, but because you have that circuitry, you're going to believe that you're going to fail. So you're not going to try all your best. You're not going to have the ideas or the creativity to make it work.
Right.
Something's going to go wrong, you'll give up. Something's going to go wrong, you're going to cave in because it fits from there. And so you see that these things create these self-fulfilling prophecies within your life.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
so when you have a belief like that, you must go in and rewire it. Now, the whole thing is that you weren't born with these beliefs. Nobody's born with these, like, I'm going to fail all the time, right?
Right.
Because if you did, we wouldn't walk,
Hmm.
right? You ever seen like a baby who just gave up and just
No.
became a floor baby
Yeah.
forever? They're like, nah, I'm going to forget it. Walking's for other people. No, good things only happen to other people. No, it's so much easier for them. I'm going to wait until it's easy for me to walk, right? You never have that. You ever meet an adult who's like, nah, just couldn't do it,
Yeah.
right? Like,
No.
never happens. So we weren't born with these, we learned them. And whatever you learn, you can unlearn.
Hmm.
And so really the process of rewiring is not to become something you aren't. It's really not even to like upgrade yourself, even though that's language I use because it's easy for people to
Right.
understand. It's unlearning the bullshit that people who also had, broken coffee makers were
Mm.
teaching you. Or, sometimes life is painful and we make up our own lessons in life. We just kind of figure out how things go.
Hmm.
And sometimes those lessons are useful and just become outdated. And sometimes those lessons are not really helpful ever. And this process of losing these different, like, inferior wirings
Yeah.
really returns you to your natural state of confident,
Totally.
self-loving, self-trusting, creative, strategic, and limitless.
No, it's kind of funny. My wife often talks about she's in the nutrition world a lot, but she talks about how each one of us has a little nutritionist inside of us from when we were a kid, because kids can often very intuitively know what they should eat and what they shouldn't eat actually, and what makes them feel good and what doesn't. And it's a very similar concept to like, no, when I was a kid, like, and I can see this in multiple areas of my life. When I used to be confident in something, then a season of life happened and I created a new belief, or a new belief settled in that, I'm not good at this actually. But if you look back, you can see that you actually were confident. And it's funny how, yeah, you can talk about it as an upgrade, but it's really kind of, it's getting back to your true essence, which often as a kid came out full force because that's all you knew, right?
Sure,
Is that kind of
sure.
what you're saying? Am I on the right
Yes,
link?
it is. It really is. Because I mean, look, there's studies done on this that when we grow older, our brains become more like a laser than a spotlight, like a
Hmm.
floodlight,
Right.
right? And so we limit our creativity. We limit our ability to be strategic because of the, air quotes, rules that
Hmm.
we've learned about life, about how life works or who we are. When you look at a kid, they don't have any of that. They
Right.
don't have any of that. That's why personal development with children is so easy,
Right.
because they do not have so many of the confines that we as adults do. They're
Yeah.
like little magical beings.
Yeah.
You can learn and adjust and create so much. That's what they're doing all day. They're creating
Yeah.
things.
Hmm.
And we as adults, we're like, no, when I create from business, it needs to be, a certain way. It needs to be an adult thing.
Yeah.
And my mind is really just screaming at this point, like, yeah, think that way. And
Okay.
then when you're frustrated and when you're not making enough money and when you're tired of being so serious and your life sucks because you haven't had fun,
Yeah.
then you come hire me for a lot of money and I'll put you back, right?
Perfect.
Or
Yeah.
or you allow yourself to be like a child,
Hmm.
and you allow yourself to think magically, and you allow yourself to be magical, and you shed those layers of rigidity, so that now when you're looking at a world with new restrictions and new rules, instead of holding on to the rules that you thought were so important about who you were and whatever, you can just slough them off like a
Hmm.
snake shedding its skin. And
Yeah.
you can just become a new thing because you are a magical creature, whether you think so or not.
Hmm. I love this. I love this. And I want to get super like narrowed in on, okay, these people who are listening, lots of coaches, lots of service-based entrepreneurs, they're wanting to get to a six-figure income. They're wanting to go to 20K months. And they maybe they're through listening to this, they're starting to become self-aware of limitations, that they're being too rigid, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so what are steps? What are steps that they can take? I mean, I know self-awareness is obviously a crucial one. I'm kind of assuming that people listening to this have started to become self-aware. So what's the next and after awareness that can allow them to, yes, still keep working on the things in their business, keep on growing, but what, being childlike, how do you do that? Like getting creative and thinking of like things out of the box. How do you do that? What's the practical, or maybe it's not a practical, but what's the tool?
Sure. So there are a couple different things that kind of need to happen all at the same time.
Yeah.
The first one, as you're growing with your self-awareness, is also growing with the awareness that how you've been does not need to be how you are,
Mm.
and that the voice in your head is incorrect. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that straight up, right? Because a lot of people will say, oh, I'm trying to, or let's say it in a different way. Your conscious mind and your unconscious mind work very differently. The conscious mind, that's your inner monologue. It's the one that you hear, and it's the one that you've associated yourself with most,
Right.
right? Because we've been taught that we are the voice inside your head. The problem is you've been taught that by people who don't know a fucking thing about psychology, right? So throw it out. It's wrong. It's just wrong. And what the reality is, your conscious mind is about 4 to 6% of all of you.
Right.
That's it. And because of its nature of trying to make sense of things all the time, it's trying to make sense of things even when it doesn't have complete information, right?
Yeah.
So have you ever Have you ever had a friend or known someone who just made shit up instead of saying, I don't know?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Tons of times.
Right? That's your conscious mind.
Hmm.
It very rarely ever says, I don't know. It'll make shit up. But the thing is, it won't tell you it's making shit up. It'll just bold-faced lie to you
Yeah.
because
Totally.
it's trying to make it's trying to make sense of a world that is inherently illogical,
Hmm.
right? And sometimes incredibly complicated. How are you going to figure things out, right? With your limited information, right? The other thing is, it can't even figure you out. It's 6% of you. How
Yeah.
is that going to understand 94% of you? That's
Oh, totally.
impossible. It's like a child trying to understand complex calculus. Like, come
Mhm.
on, man, give yourself a break, right?
Right.
So, one of those things we must understand is that the stories and meanings that we've given to things aren't what they are.
Right.
Yeah, it's like even to the point where people say, "Oh, you made me mad," right?
Hmm.
No, they didn't. Nobody has ever made you mad, ever. They've only given you opportunities to be mad. You made yourself mad,
Right.
right?
Totally.
Because you sit you down and pump you full of chemicals. That's how we can make you mad.
Hmm.
But other than that, you read into that. You created your meanings. You created your stories. In fact, you created your own identity. And so this growing in self-awareness also expands into the idea of, you know what, maybe life isn't what I thought it was. Maybe
Yeah.
I'm not who I thought I was. Maybe everything is totally different. You have one of these matrix moments. You're like, am I ready to take that red pill?
Yeah,
You
exactly. Right.
know?
Oh shit. No, but this is good. I literally, I think it was 2 weeks ago. I was on just a training for some of our clients, and we're talking about mindset a little bit. And one of the things I recommended them, as I said, question your thoughts.
Mhm.
Because when thoughts or feelings come up, oftentimes we just take it as gospel truth, right? We take it as black and
Right.
white. That's how things are. And again, kind of going back to there needs to be a proof, there needs to be a footing. It's like question your thoughts to see if it's true or not. If there's a logic or like something behind it that actually you can stand on.
Mhm.
And oftentimes, when you actually bring it back and you question it, you see that your thoughts were lying to you, or they were trying to tell you a story that you sometimes experience in life, but it's not actually always the case. Maybe it was saying it's a blanket statement when it's not always a blanket statement. And so I really, really like that because I think a lot of times we get stuck in our head, quote unquote, when it's not maybe necessarily the full part of it, which I like how you explain it in percentage. That helps me kind of visualize it in a sense.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. The other thing here is understand that your unconscious drives your life.
Right.
So we think that, hey, I can understand something, I can tell myself something, and then I'll do it. Like my consciousness has control. If you still think that, I would love for you to just tell yourself to be 10 times more confident in
Yeah.
a place where you normally feel insecure and go and see how well that works. Right. And for anybody who's tried that, immediately like, no, it's not going to work because your conscious mind doesn't actually run
Yeah.
anything
Hmm.
at all. Nothing.
Yet we rely
Zero.
on it so much. It's
Exactly.
scary.
Exactly. So that's part of it, right? That's part of the self-awareness
Yeah.
is breaking away from that and understanding that actually that invisible driver, your conscious is like a backseat driver,
Yeah.
right? The driver is unconscious. And
Hmm.
so you must look for invisible things, which is
Yeah.
very difficult. That's why we have a lot of coaches, right?
Yeah.
Because it's hard. And it's why I have coaches that, I'm working with 2 coaches right now because instead of trying to look for the invisible things in my life, I just ask someone else to do it, right? But and it's so much easier.
And you
But the
just
thing
pay them
here,
and then they see it.
exactly, it's magic. It's so so good because hey, I tried doing things on my own, and it took me 13 years.
Yeah.
Where what I do for my clients is essentially that in about an hour or two, literally.
Yeah.
Um, And the whole thing here is that you must understand that your conscious mind is not your unconscious. So the goals come from your conscious mind. I want more money. I'd like a 6-figure business.
Hmm.
Wonderful goals. I'm totally down with it. But if you don't have it in your life right now, that must mean that you don't actually want it, that there is something in there that you do not want. And you might be thinking, well, Dan, no, I want a 6-figure business. I just want a 6-figure business. I want it because I want it because I want it. There
Hmm.
is no not want in there. Okay, look inside your unconscious and tell me whether you really believe you deserve it or whether you really think you're worthy of it. Are you good enough? Right? Are you good enough to have someone pay you $5,000 a month?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Are you like, do you have that? Do you love yourself to trust yourself enough into the business
Yeah.
decisions that are going to be required to do that? Do you have the confidence, right? Because otherwise there will be a part of you that says, yeah, I want the 100 grand, but I don't want the failure, or I don't want to be embarrassed, or I don't want people to see that I'm not good enough, or
Yeah.
I'm a coach. I don't want people to see that I have problems too.
Mm.
You know, and so we have to also become aware of the inhibitions that we have, the inner tug of war, what I call them inner conflicts, that is really the source of self-sabotage.
Right.
Which is why, like, yeah, you can have all the best strategies in the world, right? But if your functional brain wiring, that is the collection of all these circuits and all these beliefs and everything, if that's programmed to keep you at $5,000, you know, a month, then that's what you're going to make.
Yeah.
You know, and it doesn't matter because you won't let yourself fully apply those strategies, or when problems come up, you won't let yourself, you'll be fighting yourself the whole way through. It's like pressing the gas and the brakes at the same time in your car, where like, cool, let's see how far you go before you completely fall apart.
Mm-hmm. Oh, totally. No, I mean, it comes down to those beliefs that you actually have, like, and I know I've gone through those myself. It seems like there's always, I call it levels, but it seems like every new level in business, you have to, I always talk about becoming a certain person, but even talking with you, maybe it's actually becoming more like who I was when I was created or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's so important to realize because, yeah, a lot of people, they'll ask me, I know what to do, but I'm not doing it. Why am I not doing what I want to do? And you've talked about it is because your conscious mind wants to do it, but your subconscious mind is there's a block, and the block could be a fear, it could be a doubt, it could be I don't feel worthy, it could be all these things that once you start to work away at these blocks, and there's different ways to do it. I'm sure there's a lot of different
Sure.
ways, and we can dive into that slightly. But once you start to remove these blocks, and your subconscious now wants it,
Mm-hmm.
then everything in life, I mean, then it's easy to actually do what you know you were supposed to do.
Sure.
And that's I see it again and again. I mean, on tactical side, like, great, you can know exactly what to do, like you said, drive the Bugatti. But if you have a fear that you're going to crash it, you probably shouldn't get in it.
Especially not a car like that.
That's like $3 million down the drain, and like, that'd be sad.
Right.
So talk about I want us to, this is kind of the last subject I'd like to quickly dive in here before we kind of tail off, but what's the step-by-step to dealing with those blocks in the subconscious, reprogramming it, if you want to, rewiring it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How do we do that? Is it affirmations? Is it meditation? Is it journaling? Is it much deeper work? What's the tactical in there?
Yeah. So this is, I'll give you what I do with clients, and then I'll give you something more practical that people can do already
Sure.
at home, right? Because I understand, like, this is what I do all the time, you know, and I've devoted my life to it. So
For
my
sure.
techniques are going to be very different.
Yeah.
My techniques, we go in there and we clean up those inner conflicts, right? Is that, like you said, we align your entire mind, body, and soul. Think about driving in a car with the e-brake on the entire time. Just take the e-brake off and see how easy it is, right? It feels so good to just be like, and some people like slingshot when we do this.
Right.
Some people almost immediately double or triple their income because, you know, like you're walking around with 1,000-pound, you know, backpack, and you take it off, all of a sudden you feel like you're Usain Bolt, just like running as fast as you can.
Yeah, exactly.
The other thing there is that we clean up the emotional records inside of your mind, because every single time you're uncomfortable or you're in pain, your brain stores an emotional record, so it can keep you away from stuff like that in the future. The problem is that when it finds stuff like that in the future, you get emotionally triggered. That's when you feel the rush of emotion.
Yeah.
But when you feel the rush of emotion, your brain is actually digging back into that emotional record. So you could be having an argument with your partner, either, you know, at home or in business, but your brain thinks that you're getting yelled at by your dad, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you were 3.
Mm-hmm.
And we have these emotional records And the problem is that the more you get triggered, the more you spend time thinking and feeling like you used to be in the past, which keeps you stuck because you make decisions emotionally,
Yep.
not logically. So the more you feel like you used to, the more you are like you used to, and that's called being stuck. So we clear those up as well, right? Then we start designing the life, right? So it's important that we use all of our tools to move forward. So tailor your friend group, adjust your relationships. Most of this stuff happens as you rewire your unconscious mind because, you know, like if you're not confident and someone talks shit on you, you might just let it go. But once you find your confidence and you love yourself, someone talks shit on you, you'll have a different response. So
Yeah, and they might come out of your life.
right, exactly, right? So chances are you'll handle a lot of these things by yourself, but it's also nice to be able to, hey, why not use your conscious mind as well?
Right.
Right. And we tailor your lifestyle so that literally every single thing helps you succeed. Your business helps you with your personal life. Your personal life helps you with your business life. Your friends help you with this. It's every single part of your life then says yes to you.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. More, more, more. Better, 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 better. And so it just creates this force of just this wheel that just keeps moving on its own.
Yeah.
Now, when you're doing things for yourself, one of the things that you can do, right, is simply look for where you are stressing out. This is one of the things, especially now, that's really important because chronic stress, which for some people can be stressed out for an hour, as little as an hour, can drop your IQ by 10 points. Now, this is the difference between the average IQ of a 30-year-old and the average IQ of a 14-year-old. So when you're sitting there stressed out, thinking about like, why can't I get my business to go? If you are stressed out, you are thinking about it while you are as dumb as you can be, literally. Right?
Yeah.
Like imagine taking a hammer to your brain and then trying to fix your business problems. It's going to be very challenging. So what we want to do is find out where we're stressed and pay attention to the thoughts, to the people, to the activities, and then begin to question our meanings, our stories, and everything, and question whether we really need to be this way, right? Like if we're working, and I know this because, you know, I've been working on my business for years. And a lot of times I find that things just won't work because, you know, I don't want them to work. It's, you know, like I'm using a mass marketing model, but maybe I don't want to speak to the masses. And so whenever I use it, my stress goes up, right? So when we feel that, we just pause, like, okay, am I emotional? Do I need to process this? Do I need to sit with this and just listen to the emotion, listen for the messages, for the wisdom, for the action steps, or maybe just let it process? Or maybe I'm doing too much. Maybe it's time to, you know, have some fun and take a break, go outside, take a walk. Or maybe it's like, you know, it's really bugging me, this relationship. And, you know, I'm trying to focus in on my work, but like my relationship is bugging me. Okay, what is in my relationship? And you sit through and think about it. Do I feel like I'm not honored? Do I feel like I'm not, you know, being loved? Do I feel, and then what kind of conversation or what can you do to handle the stress, to handle the emotion? And when we begin to think about it like that, that actually the challenge is not your business, it's the stress you feel when you're in it. Actually, it's not, you know, the launch that you're doing, it's your fear that you're going to fail. Actually, it's not, you know, the person you're in a relationship with, it's how you communicate with each other. When you sit there and you really start feeling for what is getting you, when are you stressed out? When are you feeling these things? And then sitting with them and addressing them one by one, then you begin to loosen the impacts that your inner conflicts or your emotional triggers or your environmental factors have on you. And when you give yourself space then to feel good, to feel joyful, to feel playful, to get back in that magical, you know, childlike mind, then get back to work, right? Because that is when you're the most creative. When you're feeling joy, that totally counteracts that stress. So you regain your full brain power. You regain the different parts of you that you might have set aside because you're too rigid or adult. And then when you work on it, your best ideas will come. And that's when you get your multi-million-dollar idea. That's when things flow. That's when everything seems to work. And then if you're more spiritually inclined, that's also when you can start manifesting things, and you can start creating and attracting and magnetizing your people to you, and you create magic.
Yeah. No, I love that. I think that there's so many takeaways in there. And I think like the biggest thing I think for a lot of people, I think a lot of people just don't take the second to be self-aware. Like you were saying, like think about, no, maybe I don't actually want that. And I remember a very real time in my career while we were scaling our business coaching offers. And I was scaling in a way that I wasn't aligned with, but I
Mm.
didn't know that I didn't actually want it. So we were running a bunch of different group coaching programs when all I truly wanted was to one-on-one serve people and understand them better. And I remember when we finally made that switch, it was like an alignment moment, right? Of just like, this is what I want. And actually what I was doing, I did not want, and it was okay to let it go.
Yeah.
And that's when things started to actually grow a lot faster than we had ever had them grow. We had basically actually maintained for about a year, plateaued for a
Mhm.
year, because I hadn't thought through what did I actually want? What did my subconscious, and at that point, my subconscious was telling me what was true. It was a good wiring.
Mhm.
But my conscious mind was not wired the right way. It was like being told to do a certain way by other people online, right?
Sure.
Um, and so that's really good. I like that. I like that a lot. So what I want to do is I want to do two things here. One, I mean, people to check out your stuff, because if they're listening to this and they're finding it powerful, I'm sure your content, or if you have free opt-ins or whatever, would be very
Mhm.
helpful for them. So
Sure.
number one, where can people check out your stuff? Maybe just get more information on this, that maybe feel like they're struggling with this.
Yeah, so you can visit my website at danmendilow.com. And there I do have tons of stuff. And I also have, a blog and free tools and
Yeah,
videos and my own podcast, which is Mind Mastery and Manifestation, which you will be on as well.
I'm excited.
Um, yeah, it's going to be great. I can't wait to bring some of the strategy to my people as well, balance them out. Um, you can hit me up on Instagram. Handle is Dan Mendilow. I'm super basic with this kind of stuff, guys. Facebook, you can find me at Dan EC Mendilow.
Yeah,
The EC in there is when I had multiple Facebook accounts. That was my empowerment coach account. And I just kind of kept it.
yeah,
So you can hit me up there. And guys, I love speaking with people and helping individuals. So
yeah.
if you have any questions, please ask me. It's not like I'm going to be like, give you a bullshit answer and then try to sell you like other people do. I had that happen to me and it's frustrating. I know. No. I really do enjoy being of service. And if you do have any questions, whatever it is, please feel comfortable to reach out to me and ask.
Yeah,
And there also, that's where you'll see connecting with me through there, because I'm building a lot of stuff right now. A lot of like free little courses and challenges and all
fun.
sorts of stuff. So yeah, I'm about to roll out this massive wave of awesome stuff for you guys, and it's all going to be free.
Oh, I love that. I love that. That's man after my own heart. I love that kind of stuff. We have in our group that a lot of our listeners are in. We have like 40 some master classes in there, and I love that. I love that. Okay, the last question I always ask people, and we dove straight into this topic already, so it might be just a repetition or just saying it again.
Mhm.
But how does someone go from living by default to design? And we've talked about that this whole time, but what's a takeaway that like, do this today to go from default mode of I want to, but I'm not doing it, to design?
Yeah. Start asking yourself who you are,
Hmm.
because what you get in life comes from who you are, right? And what you do comes from who you are,
Hmm.
right? So you constantly ask yourself, who am I being? And do I want to continue being this way?
Yeah.
Right? And that requires you to drop your ego, because when we're feeling hurt, we say, oh, no, they did something to us,
Hmm.
right? Yeah, but do you want to be the person who lets other people do things to them?
Yeah.
Do you want to be the person who feels like a victim? Do you want to be the person who's frustrated all the time? Do you want to be the person who shuts themselves down because of their own fears? Do you want to be the person, but even on the positive side, like you said, like, do I want to be the person? Like for me, I actually just had that. And that's why I'm going through another really big pivot where I realized that a lot of my business coaches, and this is why their marketing stuff never really worked for me. I
Right.
hired 4 or 5 business coaches and none of their shit ever worked because they were all trying to teach me how to be a mass modeler, right? A
Yeah.
mass person. And I'm like, I just realized I don't want to work with everybody.
You want to be an intimate person.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so we ask there, it's like, okay, well, do I want to be that person or do I want to be that person? You know, and really feel into the feelings
Yeah.
of it because you're not doing this stuff. I don't care. You say, like, I got a 6-figure goal. No, you're not doing it for the 6 figures. Yeah, I am. No, you're fucking not. You're
Mm-hmm.
doing it because you want to feel something. You're
Yeah.
doing it because you want to be something. You're doing it because you want to do something. And the doing something comes from who you are. So
Mm-hmm.
you ask, okay, well, who do I need to be or who do I think I will be when I make my 6 figures? And can I be that now?
Yeah.
Why do I need to wait? Because if my results come from who I am, maybe right now who I've been is a $20,000 a year person and I'm ready to be a 6K person,
Yeah.
right? And like, okay, well, what is that? You know, and you start really challenging your identity and showing up for yourself. You just realize like, no, there are no rules and you do not need to live by anybody else's rules. And so you got to start questioning, what are the rules that I've been living under? And how can I be more rebellious? And how can I be more of a badass in my life? And how
I
can
like
I
that.
allow myself to realize that maybe I'm more magical than I thought I was? And I don't need to wait to make money to be confident or love myself. Maybe
I
I
like
don't
that.
need to wait for anything and I can step in to being this person who I really love and cherish right now.
I love that. That was so great. Yeah. Literally actually figuring out and asking questions around who you are and then who you want to be and actually figuring out why can't you be that person now. That's so good. Everyone, like, literally write that down, and whether it's in your morning routine you start to work on that or whatever it is, just start kind of like chipping away at it. Because I mean, yeah, great that we listened to this podcast, but now it's actually in the actually application of it. So
Yeah.
I'm super excited for this, Dan. I'm super excited for this to air and for people to get this. And so I just want to say thank you for being on. Thank you for showing up and just like sharing all this with everyone. I think it's gonna be really helpful. I think a lot of people are going to respond to this in a very, very positive way. So thank you.
Love that. And that's, hey man, thank you for the opportunity to share this. And I really hope that it does help some people out there.
Yeah, no, 100%. Well, guys, thanks for listening today. We'll have another episode coming in later this week, but make sure that you guys are sharing this on your social media if you find it helpful. You can find Dan. Obviously, you guys know where I'm at, and we'll take it from there. Have an amazing rest of your day, and we'll chat soon, guys.